Racing to the 2020 Breeders' Cup, and this time let's take a look at the granddaddy of them all, the Breeders' Cup Classic 2020. 10 horses have been entered and some interesting morning lines, but we will go through this contender by contender, take a look at some of the possible pace scenarios, and give you my selection here in the Breeders' Cup Classic. We've already got preview videos up for the Distaff, the Juvenile Fillies, and also the Dirt Mile. So make sure to watch those. Hit subscribe, ring that bell for notifications as we bring up all of the preview videos. You can get notified. We're also going to have a Saturday betting show and final selections for every race. So hit subscribe. That gets me into more homes, and that way I can do more videos. Starting off with Tacitus, the 20-to-1 shot for Belmont and Jose Ortiz. Now, Tacitus is one of those horses that's never won a Grade 1 race. He's been bet down in his last 2 races, and this is a horse who I thought at the beginning of the year would really love the 10 furlong distance, and I still think that's true. He had a monster suburban effort when he won by 8 lengths. Now, that was against weaker competition. He kind of got surprised a couple of races back when he lost as the favorite, and then he came back and lost the last time out to Happy Saver, a 3-year-old, and then before that he lost a Global Campaign. He worked out the other day, and I think he's coming into this race good. I still think he's one of the few horses that can appreciate the 10 furlong distance. I'm not sure he can win, but I do think he will pick up some of the pieces here, as a few of these horses are maybe not coming into this race as good as they could be, and I also think Tacitus is going to come from behind. There's a lot more speed, and there's a bigger field than he's been getting in his last couple of races. Meanwhile, Tiz the Law is a 3-to-1 second favorite in this race. Tiz the Law going to be probably going off near favored status with Improbable. He tried to do the double of the Travers in the Kentucky Derby, winning 2 10-furlong races back-to-back as a 3-year-old. And of course, that was after the big Belmont effort. I think he did have some sore feet. His recent workouts, he had a 57 workout a month ago, then came back with a couple of 6-furlong workouts. Really seems to be keen and into the bit on some of his workouts. I think he's going to be closer to the pace than people think, and he could get the jump as they come into the turn on horses like Maximum Security and Authentic, who could be leading. Of course, Authentic beat Tiz the Law in the Kentucky Derby. By my standards is 10-to-1 morning line. I think he's going to go off longer than that. The European bookmakers have him closer to 20-to-1 odds. And by my standards, been working out strongly for the last 2-3 workouts. He's had a strong 2020 campaign. I think his best hope is to be near the leaders and be kind of pressing that pace. And I like the fact that he drew inside of the other speed, both Maximum Security and Authentic. By my standards is one of those long shots that I highlighted in my 5 long shot video, if you haven't watched that. By my standards with Gabriel Saez, he's won the last 3 times that he's ridden by my standards, and I think that's a key factor here in this classic. Tiz the Law is an interesting horse. He was favored in the Whitney, a small field, and Tiz the Law stumbled at the start of that race. Then it was allowed Mr. Buff to get an easy lead with slow fractions. He faded, and Improbable took the lead going into the turn and picked up the big victory in that race. Tiz the Law has rested since that race. He's fresh. He did beat Improbable back earlier this year at Oaklawn Park, and he ran the 2nd fastest Brisnet Speed Figure of the year when he won the Stephen Foster. That was behind Tiz the Law, who ran a 1:15 in the Travers Stakes. Of course, that was a big effort for him before the Kentucky Derby. So Tiz the Law, I think he is one of the few horses that I know can fast pass horses in this race. I think there's going to be enough speed up front with By My Standards, Authentic, and Tiz the Law, and Maximum Security to give Tiz the Law his best chance to win this race. Title Ready is a 30-to-1 shot for Dallas Stewart. He's ready to get the money. Remember, if you don't enter, you can't win it. And if he wins, boy, I tell you, the stakes will taste good that night for trainer Dallas Stewart. Higher Power, he's a long shot, ran a huge speed figure last summer at Old Del Mar, has not come anywhere near running at 110 again on the Brisnet scale. He's had kind of a Uneven Campaign. He seems to be entered here as probably the final start of his career, as they're already advertising stallion ads for him for next year. Higher Power, you know, he could take advantage. He was third in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year, picked up some of the pieces. That was against Vino Rosso and McKenzie. McKenzie couldn't go 10 furlongs. Now, Vino Rosso, I think, would fit with some of these horses in this race, but overall, I think the 2020 Classic is better than last year. Global Campaign beat Tacitus 2 races back. He's a lightly raced son of Keeneland. Had some nice races this year. Not sure what happened in the Belmont Stakes, although he did have a sore feet earlier this year. I liked his comeback effort at Gulfstream Park. And if you want to take a shot with a lightly raced horse with a good distance pedigree, I really can't argue with you on Global Campaign. Now, Improbable has won his last 3 races. All of them were small fields. All of them, he was kind of got the pace scenario on his edge, took advantage of wide trips and inferior horses. Now he's got to face legitimate speed and Authentic. He's got to face another speed horse in Maximum Security, and he's got to face some other well-meant older horses in By My Standards and Tom's d'Etat. I don't think Improbable is going to get an easy trip this time. I think he's going to have to gut it out, and I'm not sure he's a 10 furlong effort, and I'm not sure I want to take 5-2 on a horse going 10 furlongs against tougher horses, but he is capable of winning this race. Authentic, big efforts the last 2 races, Preakness Stakes and the Kentucky Derby. Completely turned it around after the Haskell earlier this summer. Been training like a beast since then. He's on the engine. He's going to be 6-1. I guess I'd rather have him than Improbable at 5-2. And he's same odds as Tom d'Etat. So you can make a case that Authentic has trained well since the Preakness Stakes, and Authentic is definitely going to be the speed in this race. Rounding out the field is Maximum Security. Disappointed the last time as the favorite over Improbable. You know, just hasn't really trained well this summer. The last couple of workouts been a little bit better than going into the last race, but I just don't think this horse wants 10 furlong. Remember, they did enter the Travers Stakes last year. They did not enter the Jockey Club Gold Cup. They ran in the 1 Mile Cigar Stakes. He has not been 10 furlongs since he ran in the Kentucky Derby last year. They skipped all the big dances. They did not want any part of the Dubai this spring because that was a 10 furlong race. They opted for the 9 furlong Saudi Cup, and in his prep race, they gave him a 9 furlong prep in the Awesome Again. I don't think Maximum Security is completely healthy. I don't think he's been training forwardly at all this summer, and I think at 7-2, he is a fade for me. I prefer 3 or 4 other horses over Maximum Security, but he's going to be key to the race because how much pressure he puts on Authentic and where he is at in the race with Tiz the Law and By My Standards could determine who wins this race. Now, I see as the pace setters Authentic and most likely Maximum Security. But does Bob Baffert want to send both his horses? Authentic is a need-to-lead type, and I think he's got the most speed. I think By My Standards can be a pace presser. I think Tiz the Law is going to be keen. So I think that's going to ruin Maximum Security's chances. And I'm going to go with Tom's d'Etat officially in this race. I like him and By My Standards. I do think there is a world in which Tacitus can just pick up all the pieces if the pace gets a little bit contested, and he can come over the top on the outside as he's been going 10 furlongs all summer, and he can get the distance if this becomes a demanding surface. But my 2 picks are going to be Tom's d'Etat and By My Standards. You can make a case for Authentic and Improbable. My toss is Maximum Security. And I also do not like Title Ready. Global Campaign could be a contender if you want to go with that. I think the key to this race is the pace. Does Authentic take the lead? Does Maximum Security take the lead? With that, you've got the 2 pressers, Tiz the Law, Tom's d'Etat, and those are the horses that I'm going to take on the majority of my tickets. My official pick, Tom's d'Etat. Remember, hit subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. It's the 2020 Breeders' Cup Classic, and it should be a nice race this year. 6 good contenders. Tiz the Law, also a big shot to win, but I'm going with Tom's d'Etat and By My Standards as my top 2 selections in the 2020 Breeders' Cup Classic.